What an awesome episode today from the Freedom Tapestry Project. I'm Aaron Jack, and we're going to have Kat from Create Magazine. So welcome to all the people, whether you're watching now or later. And of course, we're going to have Ben and Samia say hi. So welcome to the Freedom Tapestry Project. I'm Aaron Jack. Boom. Let's get started. Welcome to all the wonderful people. We're going to have Ben. We're going to have Samia. It's going to be great. And of course, we're live here. So thank you for joining. Let's get out the requests here. We're going to have Ben to come. Hi. Here we go. Thank you for joining. Hey.
What's up?
How you doing?
I'm well. I want to definitely keep us on schedule. I know it's very exciting to have Kat on, and it'll be really great to have you guys really dive into everything she's doing. And I know you've interviewed and talked to her before, so this will be really wonderful for our community here in Freedom Tapestry to hear her wisdom and the ideas and what she's up to and everything like that. So I'm very excited to have her on, and I just want to put a shameless plug. October 21st. Werewolf by Night comes out, our issue 1 with Marvel.
Nice. So, congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Go check out at the Marvel. We did an interview with Ryan from Marvel over at I guess it's on their YouTube page, whatever. But it's on Marvel's. Go to Marvel's website. Check it out. I'll put the link down below. You know, it's exciting stuff. It's you know, we're building platforms to be creative. So it's
awesome.
It's fun stuff. So I'm going to jump off of here. It's really great.
All right.
As always, a pleasure. And thank you again so much for bringing Kat on. And I can't wait to hear all of her wisdom and everything that's going on. So,
yeah, it's awesome to be here. And this is my 50th interview of this whole series between Aaron Jack Leinart on my photography page here on Freedom Tapestry Project. So like, since the quarantine started, I'm so excited to have Kat back on and just like be present and hear about her new book about art and business. So episode 50.
This is a huge number.
50. This is huge.
Wow, it's
a big day.
What is it? A diamond anniversary? Is that what you get 50? I think, right? Is it? I don't know.
I don't know, but I feel good. You
should.
And
you've been doing.
I'm happy to celebrate it with you. By you, I mean like all the people watching. So
all the people, send out the little thing right there.
Oh yeah. Send it out.
Right
now, later. Fly it out
there. With your friends.
All right,
spread
let's
the
bring
word.
Samia on here.
All right, I'm gonna jump. Great talking to you. Congratulations on 50. Can't wait to hear all the wisdom from Kat. I'm very excited. So thank you again, Aaron. All right, brother.
All right, see ya
later.
All right, we're gonna bring Samia on here for a minute to say hi because you all, I know I do. We look forward to hearing from updates from Damascus every week. So hey Samia, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm 50 in. I'm 50 interviews in. I've learned a lot and I've gotten to share so much and meet all these artists and your curations and, you know, a mixture of curations. So I'm happy to share this with you.
I'm happy too. And congratulations on your 50th life.
Thank you. Do you have fuel? That's my question. Do you have fuel in Damascus?
No, not yet.
Not yet. So how long have you been without fuel in Damascus right now?
We have fuel, but it's like a little, so there's like a whole line to get it like for days or so. So
wow. Yeah. Wow. So there's a whole line to get it for days and you can't like get anywhere. You can't get like your shrimp or anything, right?
Exactly. You can go to the market, to anywhere. You can go to the, I don't know, grocery store. Like it's stuck because life is like, depending on, cars.
Fuel.
And really hard to live without it.
But I'm glad that you have electricity this week, because I know a few weeks you haven't had electricity. So, all right. Well, I'm gonna get on to Kat, and we'll see you next week. All right?
Oh, yes.
All
Okay,
right.
I'm ready to have Kat with us.
Thank you. All right, Samia. I'll talk to you soon. All right. And here we go, episode 50. And thank you all for joining. Hey!
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me again on a different account.
Right? It's so wonderful to talk to you again. So much. So much has happened. I want to know, like, how have you been?
Yeah, no, I've been really good. I thought, how about for anyone from my side of the audience joining, can you tell us about the Freedom Tapestry Project real quick, just so we can get that straight, so we know what this is all about.
Yeah, so basically, Freedom Tapestry Project, it's bringing in different artists from all over the world and sharing about them, sharing their art, building a platform, building a community amongst artists, and then tying that in with Hollywood and cartoons and different, maybe galleries, just different places where artists want to tap into it from across the world, tie them to different people, connect them with each other, just building a good community of artists and creatives across the world. So we've had just amazing people, and sometimes we'll have people in tech and AR and VR and layout from Disney, and we've had just so many amazing people. So that's what Freedom Tapestry Project is about.
Yay, that's awesome. Congratulations. I definitely support all kinds of community building. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and you're such an amazing community builder yourself. Why don't you tell Freedom Tapestry Project, for the people who are watching from Freedom Tapestry Project, what kinds of stuff you do and the communities that you've built or are building and want to build?
Yeah, thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it. So my name is Ekaterina Popova. I'm an artist, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a coach, and I've built quite a bit of things over the past decade. Most recently, I just finished co-writing a book with my business partner, Alicia Puig. She's amazing. Shout out to Alicia. This felt really good because we've been talking about writing a book for emerging artists since we kind of started to get some traction in our own careers. She more so on the curatorial gallery side, and me as a fine artist and eventually artpreneur. So that was really great to actually release it into the world. And I'm still kind of like decompressing because, it's quite a bit. It's over 300 pages. And it was not without challenges. So that was really exciting, especially in the middle of COVID, to just be able to launch it. That was great. And I also am the founder and editor of Create Magazine. So that's another thing that I do. This is like the biggest community that we have probably through Create. And that is for emerging contemporary artists. And we do open calls, we do online exhibitions, and, we have a podcast, which is on pause right now, but generally we have a lot of things going on, and we still do. So that's kind of like the surface level. And then I coach women artists. So that's those are the main things.
Wow, that's quite a bit. And this is your second book, right? About this.
Technically, so it's the expanded version of our first book. The first one we kind of just wrote as, let's just do it. We didn't know what we were doing, honestly. We did our best and it had a great response, but it didn't have all the content that we really wanted to put in it. And we got a lot of feedback about what readers were curious about. So we took all the information that we were missing and then what people were asking us for. And it was, it's the same book, but more. That's why it's called The Complete. The first one was The Smartest Guide, and this is The Complete Smartest Guide. Hopefully that's all you'll need. From us. You can always read more and learn more, but, from our experiences.
So this is second edition, really. That's what we're kind of going. Would you say this is second edition?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
The real edition.
The real edition. The real edition. The upgraded. because I want to know, because since the last time we talked, you didn't have that book out, and now I've talked to Alicia and all of these people who like have talked about this book. I want to know about this book from you.
Yeah, this book is our baby. It's really kind of, I mean, I'm really proud of it. And we've had a great response so far. So basically, it's a book for those of you who haven't seen or heard about it yet. It's available on Amazon and BarnesandNobles.com, online only right now. But it's for anyone who's an emerging artist. Like, I'm probably specifically fine artists. So we're not experienced in like graphic design or things like that. But it will be helpful to someone who's like a sculptor, a painter, who is looking to kind of learn what we did, basically. There's not one way of doing things, but we share like really practical things, like all the best website platforms that we and our friends and our community use, like how to pitch to a gallery, how to manage a day at an art fair, how to create income streams for yourself as a creative. So that can kind of bridge out into entrepreneurship a little bit, because, you know, there's so many things like teaching and murals and all kinds of options for artists. And then we also just share a lot of mindset experiences, you know, comparisonitis, burnout, you know, just general disappointment and feeling kind of like, oh, what the hell's happening? So we share this kind of like 3 parts, really practical, basic stuff like your website, your resume, your artist statement, then more like art fair, navigating the art world, pitching to blogs and podcasts and things. And then the last part is more mindset, like how to make this sustainable and how to do this and not want to like throw things against the wall, you know, because there are going to be rough days. We all have them. So that's the brief version, but it's quite big. You know, there's 324 pages, so it's a lot.
Wow. What are some of the most unexpected things that you learned while making this book? While making the second edition?
Well, we found out we had some enemies that we did not know we had. So that happens in life, unfortunately. Not to be scared of it, though. Like, you know, this was a person who obviously had some of their own issues to deal with. But let's just say this third party made it very difficult to work on this book and very scary. But we worked through it, you know, with the help of some lawyers. Unfortunately, some money later. Just a lot of fear and disappointment and like anxiety. So that came out because, you know, here we were like, we're just like these 2 girls trying to help artists, like not even a thought crossed our mind that someone could come after us for something like this. But they did. They weren't successful, but it was definitely still scary. So that was a lesson. And the other thing was like, it definitely, if you wanted to create a quality experience, then we went with self-publishing. I will say we actually started by working with a publisher, and the third person party meddled with the whole thing. And at the end of the day, what I preach, like what I believe in, is kind of taking responsibility. And because we have such a big platform, self-publishing is actually a perfect option for us because we get to keep more of the profits and keep reinvesting it back into our community. But anyway, like it's been, you know, it's been a crazy journey. So it took all summer for amazing designer Shelby to put this thing together. It was over 50 hours more like design time, and editing took forever. So it's books. I have a lot of respect for like every book I read now. I'm like, wow, this is like years, and not to mention like any experiences we had. It's like a lot of energy from a lot of different people, not just the author. So it was really cool, though. I love books even more now. So, yeah.
Wow. That's just, like, incredible to go through that journey. And do you have any, because you ran into some, I guess, snafus, we might call it, I don't know. Is there something you might have done early on to avoid some of those? Or was it just, like, totally out of left field? I mean, I'm not trying to put you, because I know, like, how traumatizing that kind of stuff can be. Like I've definitely been in I've definitely been in situations where it's definitely like caused a little like PTSD or something like that. So I don't want to put you into any sort of situation. Okay. Yeah. So talk as much as you want, but don't feel like you need to, you know. But I'm just
Yeah.
curious, like, what would you do differently, or what suggestions for anybody else out there who might like be making a book like that's related to art or whatever they're doing that might help?
I would say, I mean, this is a great question. And I do think about like, what would I have done differently? Could I have stopped this person? But to be honest with you, looking back, the only thing I would have done differently is like put up more boundaries with that specific person. And because it happened to both of us, not just me, I knew it was something with that person. Like it wasn't necessarily me or Alicia specifically. It was something with the way this person operated and viewed the world as a threat. So for me personally, I would have put up bigger boundaries, and I would not have been afraid of this type of person because it has actually been kind of a reoccurring situation. So it's kind of like a power figure, and they're maybe more experienced than you, so you respect them. But at the end of the day, they don't have your best interest in mind, and they can be kind of abusive, or not like flat out abusive, but like careless with you and kind of try to teach you a lesson every chance they get to like assert their power. And this kind of figure, it wasn't specific to that person. This kind of figure reoccurred in my life over and over again. And obviously the universe was trying to tell me like, stop being afraid of them. They're going to keep coming. Like, and this was like the big thing, that the worst thing in my mind that could happen happened. And I was like, oh, I still got the book. I'm still okay. Like, even though I had to deal with lawyers, like it wasn't, obviously they didn't kill me, thank goodness. But like, you know, if that happened, I would have been in another dimension. So that's fine. But it just taught me, like, I really put a lot of emphasis, and I kind of put them on a pedestal, even though it was like a negative fear-based pedestal, but I gave them too much power. And I had to learn, like, no one's going to stop you. There's always a way to figure things out. And as disappointing as it was, like at the time, not working with a publisher because they were threatened by this person too. Looking back, like now COVID happened, we wouldn't have had the big book tours anyway. And it just all worked out like perfectly. And it was creepy how it did. But yeah, so that was the biggest, like, just don't give people a lot of power. I don't think that's just because someone's a leader, they're, you know, they can bring you down, or just keep going. If you have a dream about a project, even if there are challenges as scary as that, like you're still going to carry it through, and it's fine. So yeah, but
That's
it
so
was
beautiful.
scary. And
it's a beautiful lesson.
Thank you. But I did have a lot of anxiety, and I was freaking out, and did not handle it gracefully. I can reflect about it and think that I handled it gracefully, but like people were like, why are you so upset about this woman? You're fine. I'm like, she's going to do something. And she, you know, she tried, but didn't work. So yeah.
So
I'm giving more
in other
information
words,
about this person. No, I should stop now before saying
right. No, yeah, I don't want to push it. But
no, it's fine.
It's I think it's a good lesson, like that there's, you know, that there's people that might try to put us down, but also like that, like knowing that we you know, we can look into that, and the more you look into the abyss, the more you might become it. So but just like to understand, like, how do we like understand where things are at and move forward from there? Because I know, like, I've gone through a lot as a photographer and videographer, and there's a lot that goes on in the art world, like trying to navigate it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trying
For sure.
to, yeah.
Yeah, I think, and there's a lot of things coming out, and you know, it's not like, it's really interesting. First it started with like the Me Too stuff, which obviously is an important issue, and then there's a lot of like racial injustice. But recently there were actually like people petitioning for abusive leaders in the art world. And I mean, this person that I dealt with definitely would qualify as that, no doubt, because she bullied people around like crazy. And I think it's interesting because it's like this kind of behavior is like, it goes on for decades, generations, because everyone just wants in, and they're willing to put up with whatever is happening so they can work for this fancy institution or work for this fancy person. And that it's kind of a disservice to everyone who comes after them, who's like left with, you know, this kind of toxic environment. So it is our responsibility to be like, no. And my whole community, my family, everyone close who knew that what was happening, they were willing to chip in money to like shut this person down, because you're like, it's not about you guys, it's about everyone else who's going to try to do something, and this person's going to try to stop them. So we can't be selfish about it. If we're scared, we have to ask, like, you know, if I was gone tomorrow, God forbid, but like, would I want the rest of my community to deal with something like this? Would I want them to be afraid to share their truth and share their story and create things, like even art wise? Like, no, I don't care. I'm willing to take a risk and say no to this person and stand up for myself. So it was very uncomfortable to stand up to someone like that, but we did it. So it was worth it. Thanks for our families for like forcing us to put up some boundaries, because that was crazy.
Wow. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I really appreciate you being open to sharing here about...
I'm all fired up now. You're welcome. I'm like...
No, I understand. I've had some serious,
it is PTSD.
Like, I've had some serious like things myself that I've had through my life, like that, like, but I find it's good to find places to talk about it in moderation, and to find ways to be open. It's a very PTSD, and like people who give like a large rough times and incur power struggles, no matter from like whatever side it's coming from, it can be very hard for any individual, I feel.
Definitely. Especially I feel like if you had previous PTSD and then you were already afraid to share your voice and speak out and be seen because of your PTSD, and then this thing comes along making it worse, you know, you really have to confront your demons at that point. So I feel you. But yeah, we're here and it's safe. You know, there's parts of us that no one can hurt, so it's great.
Make some friends and share what can be shared, and
right. Venting definitely helps.
Yeah.
That was how we survived.
And you found some good parts in your community, I guess. You found some, I mean, maybe you could talk about some of your community, like maybe it's been emotional support, or what have you found in your community that's been very helpful that you find might be able to help other people? Like I don't, whatever it is, like what's been very helpful in your communities?
I mean, definitely talking about it, making it smaller, surrounding yourself with people who have done scarier things than that, because I think sometimes we amplify our problems and blow them up to be something so out of this world. But in reality, if you want to play big, then you're going to have to face some scary things. So really, even if you don't have anyone directly in your life, like listening to podcasts or watching like TED Talks from people who've overcome some scary stuff, I think I share this a lot with my clients. Like when I'm feeling really scared, like, oh my God, how am I going to pay this big bill unexpectedly, or something like that seems so impossible, I Google crazy things like millionaires who went bankrupt, and I instantly feel better, because there would be like a list like, this person lost everything and had to start over, and there's like, now they're mega successful. Just putting it into perspective really helps. But within my community, I just appreciate that I can be, and anyone can, you just have to establish that behavior for yourself. But I can be authentic, and I can share my journey and tell people why I'm doing things the way that I am, even if it's a seemingly negative situation. And they're so supportive, you know, they're excited about the book. No one really cares if something's, I think like in our mind, we're like, oh, well, it's not real if a gallery didn't sell it for me, or if a publisher didn't publish it. Like, no, it's still your work, and you still put all your time and energy into it. So it helps you gain more confidence when you allow yourself to be seen just the way you are. So instead of like putting up this facade, like, I am so-and-so and this person approved me, like no one really cares. So that was a cool, reassuring lesson too.
Wow. Those are beautiful lessons to walk away from a book with. I mean, I feel like those are like the real, like, you know, like art and business lessons, that like how to overcome when like there's people or intricate politics, or like that intricate politics caused like PTSD and like for some other reason, like it's or caused like some other like anxiety. And did you find your own art making helping in those circumstances? No.
Definitely not. I felt very, I mean, and you know, now I feel good. Now I'm back in the studio, but it was not a happy time. It was not. I crashed my car during that time. I think I was just so anxious. And multiple times before that, I like found myself swerving into the wrong side of the road. Like after yoga, it was supposed to relax me, but like well, the minute I started to relax, like it was almost worse because all the stuff started to flood in. So it was a really stressful beginning of the year. And as much as it's horrible with COVID, it was quite healing for me to be away from everything and just take some time for myself to recover, because that was a lot. So art making was not helpful because now it is, but I think at the time I was still like kind of in the space of knowing that I want to change things up but not committing to it. So it was rough. But I made it through and I'm happy to be on the other side.
I'm happy for you. If that's any consolation, I'm happy to see you on the other side of all this.
Thank you. And since then I have developed an addiction to like crystals and and healing sprays. So trying to keep all those weird vibes away from me.
Whatever works.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's not, you know, it's like a placebo, but but it's pretty and it makes me feel happy. So
no, I mean there's things that happen in the mind, and the mind has a lot of power, you know? Like that's the power of art. I mean, I'm just speaking for myself, like, you know, I'm not speaking for you, I'm speaking for me. Art has a lot of power in that, like that it can move us. And if it's, whether it's crystals or whatever it is, if it moves us, you know, or like sprays, whatever it is, or like someone's work of art.
Yeah, you told me like 6 months ago that I would be buying so many crystals. And okay, so full disclosure, I think it has to do, I always liked rocks. Even as a kid, I would like pick them off from the field. But I think for me, especially after feeling so unsafe last winter, just surrounding myself with things that I like looking at aesthetically, whether it's like a vintage typewriter or someone's painting, like I love collecting other people's work, or crystals, like creating like a sanctuary around yourself so that you feel really, really safe. Because also like for people like us who are online a lot, interacting with a lot of different energies, like it's really nice to just look at something tangible once in a while and be like, okay, I'm here, this is my space, like, you know, back to kind of reality. So I find it really grounding in that way.
Wow, that's an incredible piece of advice. I think so many of us are lost in this digital world, and connecting, and especially being on lives, connecting with so many different energies. That's like, how do we find that space? And you showed me last time that mug with the crystals on it.
Yeah.
Shutting out.
I love that artist. Yeah. Yeah. Having objects, having artwork, having crystals and still rocks. But no, anything. I think anything that makes you happy. I mean, books are a big one for me too. Just reading and being away. This summer, I got really good about unplugging. And I mean, I got kind of busy again with the book launch, but just having those boundaries in general, as much as possible. It is hard. It's really hard to like not be online.
Yeah, that's for sure. And especially while like trying to make something and then talk about it and be your own personal, like everything. Yeah.
Yeah. It's something that I was working on too. It's like the rule where you create 80% of the time and share the other 20. Like it's a lot harder to apply it, but it has been really helpful to put in perspective, because what do we want to be known for? We don't want to be social media gurus. It is helpful to have a big audience to share your work, but at the end of the day, we want to be good at creating. We want to improve our skills in whatever mediums we choose. So I really have to keep that in mind, you know, as I get sucked into my social media. But you know, it definitely has its place, and it is so useful to build your own business and community. So yeah, I'm grateful for it.
you balance so much with that, like, and and so many different communities, as I've found out since we've talked last. I mean, just like from one person to the next, and then the different, all the people. It's amazing. You have a lot of fans out there, so I mean, I'm just telling it the way it is. So, what do you think? How do you feel like other artists could learn maybe about that? Like some are maybe just I've talked to a lot of artists who follow my own work and my interviews, and they're maybe shy from putting themselves out there on the camera, and they're scared that they're gonna lose their ability to create or whatever it is because they're even putting themselves out there. How do you find that balance within yourself, or what would you say to other artists who are kind of scared that they're going to be overrun with things, and what does that take for you to even have a mass that it could overwhelm you?
Yeah, I mean, it can be really overwhelming. That's a legitimate concern. I would say, you know, like I said, 80% creation, 20% sharing, but I think we have to stop compartmentalizing and trying to have these neat little categories in our life at the same time, because everything is art. The way we show up, the way, you know, sometimes the way we dress or the way we decorate our space, the way we talk, the way we write our captions, like that's all part of your art. And to try to separate it into neat little things like, oh, I'm in my studio, that's art. That's not true, because like it's all you, and you can't remove aspects of yourself. You know, you can't remove that part of you when you're talking. Sure, we can get sucked into like those numbers and those vanity metrics and try to be available all the time to see your audience growing. That's definitely distracting, and not necessarily big social media numbers don't necessarily mean bigger profits. So you have to keep that in mind when you are spending your time, to spend it wisely. But I would just say, and there's an episode, and for those who watch Schitt's Creek, I don't know if you like that show or not. Schitt's Creek,
I don't know about it. Help me.
It's a really good show. It just won a bunch of awards. But there's an episode in Schitt's Creek where I'll just say, like, the siblings were driving, and the brother is kind of really anxious and afraid. He was about to like redo his driving test, and the sister was saying, like, no one cares about you. No one is even paying attention to you. And while that's not really comforting when we're trying to put out our work, that's the truth. Like, we are showing up in front of all these people, but at the end of the day, we're only going to get the attention of a few that like really connect with what we're saying or the kind of work we're producing. So it takes a lot of pressure off, because, you know, I show up and we have 160,000 followers, and maybe like 30 people will join and be engaged. And that's okay. Those are my 30 people. Those are the people that get me, that might buy something from me one day. But more than that, like sales aside, just think about that percentage. Like that's the reality. So there's not a lot, it's a lot less scary. And yeah, no one cares, but then the right people care. So, so always when you're talking, talk to that one person. Think of someone who, even if you've never sold a piece of art, think of someone who's complimented your work or even commented something. Like, speak to them, think of them. Don't think of anyone negative, or don't think of anyone who's not interested. Think of the person that's interested, and it'll be easier for you to be more open and share more. So that's the best advice that I have, that I use for myself.
That's so beautiful. That it's so interesting as we talk about like a digital audience and what that means to the artist now. I mean, now I want to say like now in general, but like specifically in COVID, like digital audience, we're not seeing all these people showing up to the show and trying to imagine the audience. And I feel like that's what, like for me, that's what really ticked something in my head when I started painting again and started painting all these portraits of people and connecting to just very specific people, very interesting specific people who I've met and photographed in the past, and connecting in that way. Are there some like connections that you would say that you've just like reconnected to in this past, that you've maybe learned something new from? That
I'm trying to think. I don't know. I connect with so many people. I mean, honestly, I think the biggest thing has been I was really excited for me and my membership, the Art Queens. Like, I was just really excited to see how many women artists were willing and brave enough to launch their own platforms. Like, we had a few people, and I'm sure there's like millions more, but just in my world, I don't see it happening very often. So I was really excited. People were starting blogs. People were starting like online galleries and workshops for artists, and that made me really happy because it for me, that makes me feel less alone and weird because I'm all over the place. But then also just for their own empowerment, because I saw the change in them. I saw how differently they started to show up. So that was like I guess it's not really a new connection or reconnection. It's like a deeper view into my community and the kind of people I'm attracting. So that was exciting.
That's so cool. Could you talk a little bit about this Art Queens project that you worked on, and then a little bit about like what it means for them to create platforms? Because I think some people here might be, and people that watch later might be really interested in making their own platform and might be interested in getting involved.
Yeah, for sure. So the Art Queens is something that I started, and Alicia and I launched our first workshop last year, and it was really successful, but it was a workshop and it wasn't like its own thing or anything. But I really got into the idea of like coaching and self-development. So I was working with a coach at the time, and she helped me launch the Art Queens, Michelle Gomez. Shout out to Michelle. She helped me like really get clear on like who I was serving, because I was kind of like, okay, emerging artist, that's not specific enough. Specifically, I was drawn to kind of self-development for the empowered women artists. So someone who is not just looking to get a gallery, even though there's nothing wrong with that. We have members that are on that track, and that's fine. They acknowledge that, the power is theirs. But so I think it was like in March where I launched my first. It was right when I came back from Alicia's wedding in Costa Rica, and COVID happened. And at first I was going to launch this big course, but then I was like, I don't know what's going to happen with the world. I'm just going to create a space where we can chat and have like Zoom calls and make it really affordable, because Lord knows what's going to happen. Ended up getting like almost 100 members right away. And then we had some amazing speakers. We had like Jealous Curator come teach us. We had Erica Lee Sears. Michelle taught us. Alicia King taught us. And we have, 2 calls a month. And it was like a big group coaching. So to answer the second part of your question about the platforms, to me, like the pivotal moment in my life when things started to change for me was when I stopped waiting for someone to come like quote unquote crown me, and I took control of my own life. I was like, well, I got rejected from every job. I'm going to start my own. And I started this thing. I had no idea what I was doing, but everything shifted because I knew now I can create anything. Like anything is possible. And I just wanted to share that mindset and invite people with that mindset into the space so you don't feel so alone. So that's kind of like the short version of it. But yeah, it's been really cool. Now we have over 200 members, and it's really fun. And it's intimate. Like it's still relatively small where people can get to know each other and hang out. And but it's really fun.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I like that idea of how one like it's like the platforms, and then how are the platforms connected. That really interests me. I've been talking to more art podcasters and art bloggers, I've been talking. This is episode 50 for me of this interview series since COVID started. So I was really excited to have you back for the 50th. So I'm really curious, like, how do you imagine that some of these networks or these different platforms connect together? Like, what would be some of your dreams of, like, if these platforms could connect together, what would maybe ways that they could connect together?
Do you mean other people's platforms or my own?
Yeah, like how can platforms like co-create larger ones? Like you have the book that you've created with Alicia, and then you have your Create magazine, and then there's a lot of other organizations and platforms around you, how do you connect your platform to others?
That's I mean, that's something I'm working on. I'm always trying to find like the quote unquote golden thread that ties it all together. And I'm getting close. Like, well, I have not shared this publicly, but I've been 6 months sober, so I'm really happy about it. So I'm going to rename my podcast probably after Art Queens, because that's like the closest to my heart. And I feel really, really good. And it just doesn't align. I have no problem with other people having cocktails, but for me, it just feels weird to leave it. So I'm starting to kind of consolidate these things because they are all connected. And also, like, from a more kind of practical perspective, like taking a look at all the episodes, looking at the statistics, which ones were most listened to, which ones were most engaging, most shared. A lot of them happen to be like self-development topics, or unless it was like an artist celebrity, it was mostly like me sharing something personal, or, you know, Alicia sharing something personal, or tips. So like understanding that data and taking it and being like, okay, well, what's exciting to me right now, knowing what I know about these numbers, and like combining them, not just going off popularity, but like, obviously there's a reason those things are popular, because I'm excited about it, and you can hear my energy when I'm sharing about these topics. So really taking a look at the best viewed pages on the magazine and being like, why was that popular? What was I thinking when I wrote it? Can I do more of this? Do I like doing this? You know? So that's how I start consolidating my stuff. In terms of other people's platforms, like me and Alicia, like, you know, I helped her co-found the gallery. That's her baby now. But like, we just did a virtual show together where, like, you know, she's pretty much like in charge of like the sales part, but I was helping promote it by launching it on the create side. So partnerships within our community, specifically Art Queens, they're already doing it. They're posting each other on their blogs. They're posting each other in their directories. Like, they're sharing each other's work. They're buying each other's work. So they're already doing it, and it's beautiful. And I have nothing to do with it, but it's awesome. I'm so happy for them. So it's just like, there's a lot going on, but all good stuff.
Wow. That's so interesting. Like, just by bringing the people together and meeting up twice a month, what are ways in which you found it worked? You brought all these artists together.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously I can't go to this group. So
if you're really identified, then that's fine. But yeah.
Right. Unless I want to switch how I identify, which like I don't know.
I mean, yeah. If you want to be an art queen, you can be an art queen. I will not stop you. Anyone can be an art queen.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the honorable mention here.
You're welcome.
So what are ways in which, like, you find it good to bring in different people? I'm always curious, like, what formats are being played around with, and what's working? What would you like to see more in the world? What other platforms around you would you like to see, like, that you think other people could learn from your model?
I think for me, what's been working is, like, you know, I try to kind of mix it up. Like, I don't believe in like, oh, this person's on a higher level. Obviously, there's some people that achieved a lot and are a lot more recognizable. But so when I bring in like speakers, for example, I try to mix it up between people who really inspire me, who are like Jealous Curator, big audience, and then people within our community who may not have a big audience, but for example, are an incredible art therapist and have really powerful tools to share with our queens. So even though they're not like, no one knows who they are, but they're so badass, you know, in their own way. So I try to not think of things as like, oh, okay, only famous people. But like, really, like, what do I want to learn? You know, maybe it's about nutrition and how it helps us express ourselves and heal our bodies and become better artists because of it. Maybe it's, I don't know, some people are really into tarot. Like, it could be anything. So I learned that, you know, our vibe attracts our tribe. That's really cliche, but it's true. So if I like tarot and I like crystals, there's probably going to be at least like 5 people that are also into that stuff. And there's a lot more. It's kind of scary, but it's awesome. So don't shy away from what you like. And it's okay to repel people. It's okay to not have everyone agree with what you like, whether it's your art taste or your like routines. people will find you. And I think it's easier to grow a community when you're not trying to be something and you're just like, here I am, this is what I like. Do you like it too? Cool, let's hang out together. That works. And then I try to like have a sustainable model. So the membership is really affordable. It's only $22 a month, and we offer scholarships for people who can't afford that. You know, there's some people from third world countries that can't afford it, or low income situations. So we also have options where queens can sponsor other queens. So if they pay an extra amount a month, not the full price, they get to sponsor another member. And then I also believe in paying our speakers. So whoever teaches, they get paid, you know, a small stipend for 30 minutes of teaching. So, and I noticed that because the members are paying, like I'm part of a lot of groups on Facebook, I'm sure you are too, like there's just like chaos. I noticed that because like our community, they do have to invest some money into it, they're going to show up. So there's a lot of commitment that comes with a paid. So what I want to see artists doing is I want to see artists charging for their platforms, whether it's a downloadable PDF or a membership fee, or, you know, some websites have a paywall if you're producing content, or Patreon. I want to see artists and creatives charging for their services, because one, it forces your audience to show up and like read and enjoy what you created. You know, you're obviously going to commit to something that you paid for more so than like a freebie you downloaded, right? That's just like human psychology. We think it's worth more because we paid for it. And then two, it's more sustainable. So you're not going to quit. You're going to, when you get paid for what you do, you're not going to give up, and you're going to keep going because you love the progress and you love feeling supported. And I'm really passionate about teaching artists how to like charge for what they do, because in the art community, there's like a toxic relationship with getting paid. So, and I'm healing that in myself, but I would love to see more artists charging money.
That's so beautiful. I think that's so important for people to hear. I feel like to encourage other people to start their platforms out there and to connect and to find ways to connect together and bring that forward, and then find ways to earn income from those different platforms and earn income from their work.
Yeah.
And I guess this ties back into your book, right?
Yeah.
To earning income from the work.
Yeah, earning income from the work. I mean, our book talks about that. There's so many other things, but I know for myself, like I always say this, it's really hard to be inspired when you're like super anxious about paying your bills, or, you know, can't afford your student loan payment. It's not a very inspiring place to be, and it doesn't serve anyone, especially not you. Like being a martyr has to end because it's just toxic. But also like when you charge appropriately for your work and your services, you can also give back. Like there's always room for, even if it's like $100 a month, you can always contribute to a good cause, and it just feels really good. So yeah, charge for your stuff.
There's always ways to give back, whether it's monetary or not.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be, but for sure, there's time, there's
energy, there's helping someone get across the road, or just like just the other day I was like helping my friend move out of his house.
That's
like,
huge. It's a big gift of your energy.
Yeah, like a house that he grew up in and all this. It's like, it's finding ways to give back is so important, and to trade value and to show like value in each other and each other's work. I think that's so important.
Yeah, and I see a little question, a statement.
Oh yeah.
I find it very hard to put value in my work. So yeah, it can be really, really challenging. It's like the chicken before the egg, but you know, I just want to encourage you to start practicing small. Even if you start with like a lower price, just start recognizing your own value, because the world is a mirror. So I always share the story. I did not get my gallery until I got really good at selling my own work, because guess what? The gallery saw me selling my work, and they're like, oh, cool, we want to sell this work too. Everything we do, the way we treat ourselves and what we believe about ourselves is going to be reflected out. So like, it's really hard to have someone come and give us approval before we give it to ourselves. Like even just from a practical perspective, because it's just the way we show up. And, you know, I used to do this too. So I totally get it, but start practicing small. It's uncomfortable. It feels really weird and yucky sometimes, but definitely whatever it is, you know, I'm not sure what kind of work you do, but just keep doing it and keep practicing. It's like, it's a muscle.
How did you start selling your work then yourself?
So it's, you know, it's been a journey. I've been doing this since after art school was like 2011. And I was, you know, like everyone else, applying to a lot of shows, juried shows. And I was always like, I literally thought that you get into a show and you sell your work. Like that was just what I thought. And that was not happening. You know, get into a show, spend like hundreds of dollars shipping it, and then nothing would happen. And just things started to shift for me. I started posting it on my personal Facebook first, and people were like, oh, can I buy it? And I would like look up, like, I don't know how much to charge. Like, I don't know like what this is worth. And I would start charging really low. Like for a medium-sized painting, I would charge like maybe $200, and I would think that was so much money. And it is to some people. I understand that, but like at the time it was like not even paying for one of my bills. So, but it was exciting. And I used that energy to keep going until I could raise my prices. So I do believe in artists getting paid fairly, but if you have a big mental block around charging for your work, start by just selling some small affordable things until you get used to it, and then you can bump it up. Like just get moving and it will get easier over time. So that's how I started. Yeah, it's a journey. It's not like something you can just be like, oh, I'm going to go sell my work now, because it's not about the action of selling your work. It's about all the mental blocks that are going to come up when you sit down and think about all the reasons why you're not worthy, all the reasons why you're not qualified to sell your work, which are all lies, by the way. And when those things come up, I encourage you to journal about them, write them down, and question their validity. Like, is this a fact about my art? Is this a fact about me? Am I an imposter? Am I making artwork? Yes. Can I sell this artwork? Yes. Like, you have to talk to yourself and like literally coach yourself through it. So I know you can do it. I believe in you. Your work has a lot of value. You know, there's only one of each of us in this whole world. So that's pretty unique and pretty special, and it's worth celebrating.
Wow, that's beautiful. I'm curious, do you have any other kind of coaching things that you are just like, that you would just like sew to get out there in the world? I know we haven't looked at through the images, but I feel like this is just like interesting and what needs to be talked about. And that's really what draws me to like doing these interviews, just like following my curiosity and letting people share, you know, what's on their hearts, what's on their minds. And so I'm just curious, like what's on your heart and mind that you just feel like people could use that in the world, like that this, you know, little nuggets or anything that you feel this like should be out there?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I mean, there's so much always on my mind. I would just say, for me personally, I mean, I can't say for everyone, but the journey of the past year has been the realization, and this is not individual people. There's good people in the art world, but in general, the art world is a broken system, and it's a really toxic system. So don't try to be a part of it. Try to create a new art world. Try to contribute your unique vision. Follow people who inspire you. Just because someone is famous or like, I don't know, a blue chip gallery or a famous curator, but they trigger you and they make you feel unworthy, do not follow them. I'm serious. Like, know about them, educate yourself, but don't look at their stuff. Don't look at the work that they're sharing that looks nothing like yours. That's one person, one gallery, one curator. So the comparison has to stop, and like, stop trying to fit into the old art world. Stop trying to fit into that old system. That's not going to be around anymore. It's all going to change. And yes, there's going to be elements that stay the same, but we're trying to create something better because we have an opportunity now, you know, everything's locked down. For me, I think just like embracing, there's a lot of like self-abuse that goes on in the artist's mind. Like, it comes from comparison, like systematic training that we receive, even just being surrounded by certain things, just allowing yourself to be who you are. Embracing things like, maybe I love crystals and I love, I don't know, Russian fairy tales, like not filtering that stuff and just looking at it from a third party perspective. Like, is it wrong for me to love these things? No, it's not. Do they have to obviously all go into my art? No. But can I be who I am? Is it safe for me to be who I am right now and make the kind of work that I want to make? Absolutely. There is no police. There is no art police. So just embrace all the parts of you. And that's when, I think that's when all our best work will come out, when we're more honest about who we are.
Wow, that's so beautiful. To be honest about who we are. Now, here's my follow-up question. You're talking about a new paradigm. You're talking about a huge art paradigm shift.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know if you could, we only have maybe 3 to 5 minutes left. So just to be aware of, what, could you describe this new paradigm? If you could have it any way you wanted in the whole world, just like dreaming big, like any shift, lead us to this holy land of the new art, the new art paradigm. What does it look like? Tell us about, the
like the
trees
Moses
that are growing around us. What does it look like once we get there? How will we know when we've arrived?
I don't know if there's ever an arrival. I think it's an evolving, not, while we're on this earth, and I don't want the responsibility of taking you into the promised land, but I do ask myself this question a lot. It is like a question I actually journal about almost every day. Like, what do I see myself? Like, for me, it's very specific. I do serve a very niche community of women artists who are kind of like leaders in their communities. I can't speak for the whole world, but what I would like to see is like the quiet, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a very subconscious, like subliminal bullying that goes on that tells you that if you do this, you're no longer this. If you do this, then you're no longer welcome here. If you do this, then you can't be so. If you make this amount of money, you're not this. So for me, I want those voices to silence, and I want artists to, at least, even if voices are not silenced, to be able to discern that they're not truths. They're not true, because there's millions of people who are doing it in their own way without following those old rules. And there's nothing wrong with people who enjoy being part of that world. If it works for them, if they don't feel abused by it, that's a different story. But I'm talking about people who don't feel like they're worthy, that feel really crummy about themselves. So I would just love for artists to love themselves more. That's simple. That's all. And not let other people control their decisions through the mind. Because for me, it was those voices that haunted me for like a decade, and still like have to shake them off sometimes. But yeah, I want those voices to stop. not actual voices. I don't. There's no medical condition there, but yeah. Wow,
that's such a beautiful thing. That's rule number 1 in my book: love thyself. That's so, and it's so easy to say, but so difficult to do.
So difficult, and there's so many levels to it.
and a constant journey onto itself. So that's, wow, what a beautiful way to end this. We have about a minute and a half left, and I just want to say thank you for sharing and leaving us with such amazing words and inspiration and system changing ideas. And I'm sure like we'll see lives from you. If you're not following Kat, go follow Kat, because we're going to see some paradigm shifts happening in this art world, I think.
We can all
and I think that's
I said we can all be part of the shift for sure.
Yeah. And there will be, those of us who are speaking, and please DM us and share your thoughts about, what that new paradigm looks like, how you feel the new paradigm should be, and what you're doing to love yourself as an artist, as a human being.
For sure.
So thank you so much, Kat. I'm going to let you have the last few words. But I'm Aaron Jack. I'm over at Aaron Jack Line Art. This is the Freedom Tapestry Project, at least posted here right now. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Samia. Thank you to all the people out there who have watched and who are part of this, who are speaking, who are just conversing now and later. Thank you, Kat. You've got 20 seconds.
I'm just kidding. Thank you so much for having me, everyone. It's a pleasure to share, and thanks for letting me vent. Talk about my PTSD, my art world PTSD. But, you know, we're stronger for it. Thank you, everyone. Have an amazing rest of your day or night, depending on where you are. Bye.